Usually when we talk about fighting games, they're not so kid-friendly, they're pretty violent, and also not usually in the indie space. Well, today that's gonna change. I'm the Exhardcore Gamer, and today I'm talking about them's Fightin Herds. Anybody out there thinking, that's not a new game, I've already played it? You could be right. It has been on PC for quite a few years now, but it's finally getting some console ports. Initially released in early access on PC in February of 2018, and then finally getting the full release in April of 2020, it's now getting ports for the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4 and 5, Xbox One, and the Xbox Series X and S. Them's Fightin Herds is a 2D fighting game with a nice cartoony look from developer 𝐸𝐸. The characters that you pick from and the overall theme of the game are four-legged animals, and this is not going to be much of a surprise because the game initially started development as a My Little Pony fighting game. About 10 years ago, 𝐸𝐸 started off as a group of fans of My Little Pony that wanted to make a fighting game for it. They planned a fighting game called Fighting is Magic based on the television series My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. Some early versions were released in 2012 and immediately gained a lot of attention from the fighting game community. People were drawn to the fact that it had unique characters and moves, but unfortunately Hasbro did not share their enthusiasm. Hasbro owns the rights to My Little Pony and they sent 𝐸𝐸 a cease and desist letter. Anything related to My Little Pony had to be thrown out, but thankfully the gameplay could be saved and they can start development on a new game. With the gameplay saved, all they needed was some new art, and thankfully they got some help in the form of new character designs from Lauren Faust, the creator of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Don't let the cute art style fool you, this is definitely a very accessible and yet deep 2D fighting game. Them's Fightin Herds uses a 4-button fighting system where you have light, medium, and heavy attacks, as well as the 4th button being for magic. When I say magic, it doesn't mean special moves per se, it just means it uses up the magic meter that your character has. The game also still has your traditional quarter circle and charge-based moves that you can use with your light, medium, and heavy. There's also the usual super meter that can be built up to 3 different levels. Depending on how much of a power meter you've built up, that will determine which moves you can do, and some of them can even be chained together. Each character shares the same basic combos to get you started, but as you dive deeper in learning the characters, you'll be able to learn some more high-hitting combos. Speaking of learning, there's actually a great tutorial system in the game that will teach you all the ins and outs of the gameplay. Even better, it has the option of picking each character individually so you can learn their specific differences. So what you end up with is the core gameplay being a very deep fighter that's really fun to play, easy to pick up, but still can be ready for those fighting game tournaments as well. Once you've finished the tutorial, or maybe even a little bit of the practice mode, or at least just enough so you feel like you can play, there are multiple modes that you can then continue to play with. The most basic of which to get you started is the local versus mode, which gives you the option to play against a friend or the computer. If you're looking for a little bit more, there is the arcade mode, which is pretty standard, where you have multiple difficulty levels to pick from, and then you just go through every character in order until you face a final boss. Unfortunately, the arcade mode doesn't take very long to get through because one of the main drawbacks of the game is that there are only 7 characters to pick from. With your choice of a deer, dragon, unicorn, cow, llama, lamb, or a goat, they are at least all unique with their own fighting style and different moves. So with there not being very many characters to pick from, and those other previously mentioned modes being not all that meaty, most of your time is going to be spent in the story and online modes. The story mode gives the background as to why all these battles are happening in the world of Fornum. There were some ghosts, aka shadow creatures, that took the form of wolves that attacked a small animal. They are looking for a key because long ago a great priestess sealed all of the ancient enemies behind a magic door. So now each area of the world will name a champion and send them out on a quest for the key. You'll kick things off by playing as the champion of the prairie, Arizona, which is the cow character. You have an overworld that has a pixel art based look to it that looks more like a 16-bit RPG or even like a Zelda game. As you explore the world, you'll meet new characters to talk to, have enemies that you fight, and items to collect. There are even some platforming elements. I unfortunately was having some flashbacks to playing Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero, where you had to do platforming segments with up to jump. Ugh. There's not a ton of platforming, and it's not something that really holds you back per se, but it's enough there that it does get a little bit annoying and frustrating. One of the biggest culprits actually comes in the form of the first boss that you fight, where you have to jump to dodge some attacks. While that sounds like something you would typically do in a fighting game, the way that it's set up, it feels more like playing a platformer. Instead of being able to try to dodge or block a move, I felt like I was having to do some certain timings like I would in a Mario or Sonic the Hedgehog game, and it just wasn't something I was having a whole lot of fun doing, and it made me not want to play the story mode anymore. I feel like other people will be a lot better at it than me though, and you'll probably have more fun with it. And that brings us to our last game mode, which is the one that most fighting games live or die by, and that's the online play. As is pretty standard when you're doing reviews, there aren't other people online playing the game. The code they sent me was for the Xbox version, and I never once found anybody else online. Luckily though, I already owned the PC version. So while Fightin Herds does include the usual quick search of a casual match or even the classic lobby, the main way most people want to be able to play the game is what they call a pixel server. This brings back the classic 16-bit look of the story mode, and now this is the server that you're walking around and can actually see the other people playing. First, you're going to create a little avatar that represents you while you walk around in this game world, and that's going to be based off of one of the 7 characters that you can play. After that, you'll modify them to add different accessories like hats, sunglasses, capes. There are so many different things that you can pick from, and if you're playing on PC, you'll unlock more if you own certain other games. As you walk around with your customized avatar in this pixel-based world, you'll see everyone else's avatar where you can walk up and directly challenge them, or even go to specified places that have little lobbies. If there aren't enough people around to play, or you're just tired of getting beat by the same people over and over again, there are also other areas to explore, including salt mines. These areas tend to be a bit more of a PvE type situation where you'll sometimes run into ghost-based enemies that are controlled by the computer, all while you're trying to use a pickaxe to gain more salt. You'll use the salt then to go to the store and buy more accessories to customize your avatar. All the online is powered by the 𝐥𝐤𝐤's powerful rollback netcode, so you know that you're going to get a nice smooth experience. I was able to fight against a bunch of different people, and if I found somebody that wasn't just going to destroy me right away, I still felt like I was controlling it pretty well. So while the overworld in the story mode and the pixel server is a 16-bit pixel art based look, the main game itself is definitely more of a hand-drawn 2D style that's very bright and colorful. On top of that, the animation is super smooth and runs at a consistent 60 frames per second. I played it on the Xbox Series X as well as the Series S and on PC, and everything would always stay nice and locked at 60. While on PC you do have some times that you will get above 60 frames per second, this will be more in overworld type situations, as the battles need to stay at 60 to be able to keep timing of moves consistent and a level playing field when playing against other people. Each character does have their own unique background that's tied to the theme of whatever that character is, and they're filled with different special effects such as lighting and particle effects. As can be expected, these effects are a little bit more prominent on the PC version, but overall, PC and consoles look pretty in line with each other, at least when comparing to Xbox. I don't have any kind of technical specs as to what the differences between the Series S and X versions are, but to my naked eye, they look pretty much the same, with the only difference being what resolution it was outputting at. Just as each character has their own unique background, they also have unique music, and it's a dynamic system that adapts based on which characters are in the battles. There's plenty of variety in the music, with different instruments used, all the way from something that may be chiptune based to actual guitars. Everything mixes together well and really adds to the overall vibe of the frantic fighting that's going on. A nice little added touch too in the sound department is that each character has their own little thing that they'll say before and after each fight that it can rotate through and change based on which character they fought against. So for people who are looking for a nice fighting game that maybe they can play with their younger siblings, or they just feel that everything out there is too violent, Fightin Herds is a great alternative. There are plenty of modes to pick from to be able to spend a lot of time with, and it's really only brought down by the fact that there are only 7 characters to pick from. Luckily, a Seasons Pass is coming, and there will be more characters added later on.